"Mom, it's time you moved out." My son said it while buttering toast. No preamble, no gentle lead-in. Just 5 words dropped onto the breakfast table like stones into still water rippling outward until they filled the entire kitchen. I'd painted yellow 48 springs ago. I stood at the stove, spatula in hand, watching scrambled eggs congeal in the pan. The morning light came through the window the way it always did, slanting across the countertop David had installed himself, catching dust motes that danced like they had all the time in the world. Roman didn't look up. Neither did Daisy. She was scrolling through her phone, her coffee untouched and going cold, the same way her smile had gone cold over the past 8 months they'd been living here. "Moved out," I repeated, testing the words in my mouth like they were in a foreign language I hadn't quite learned yet. "It's not personal, Mom." Roman finally met my eyes. "It's just this house. It's not really working for us anymore." Us. Not we. Us, as if I'd somehow stopped being part of the equation. I turned off the burner, set down the spatula with more care than necessary. My hands, I noticed, weren't shaking. Not yet. That would come later in the dark when I was alone with the weight of what was happening. "We've been talking," Daisy added, still not looking up from her screen. "There are some really nice senior living communities, active adult communities they call them. You'd have activities people your own age, people my own age." I pulled out a chair and sat down slowly. Not because I needed to, my knees were still good, thank you very much, but because I wanted to look at them. Really look. When had my son become this stranger who talked about me like I was a piece of furniture that no longer matched the decor? "It's not a nursing home," Roman said quickly, as if that made it better. "It's independent living. You'd have your own apartment. They have a library, a garden. You love gardening." I did love gardening. I loved it in the garden outside this kitchen window where I'd planted the rose bushes the year Roman was born, where David had built me the raised beds when my back started protesting too much bending, where the peach tree still bloomed every spring, even though the fruit had gone bitter years ago. "When did you make this decision?" I asked. They exchanged a glance, one of those married people glances that excludes everyone else in the room. Daisy shifted in her seat. "We've been discussing it for a while," she said. "Roman lost his job 6 months ago." 3 months? Roman interrupted sharply. 6, Daisy said, her voice tight. "Don't lie to your mother now." So that was one truth out. Roman had been going to work every day for 3 months doing God knows what, while I made him lunch and asked about his meetings and never suspected a thing. "We're in a difficult financial situation." Daisy continued, her words clipped and practiced like she'd rehearsed this. "We need to expand Roman's home office. My business needs space. The house has equity. If you moved somewhere smaller, more manageable, we could renovate, maybe even create rental income to offset. You want to turn my house into an Airbnb." "Not the whole house," Roman said. "Just part of it. And it's not just your house, Mom. I grew up here. I have memories here too. It's family property." Family property. As if David and I hadn't bought this land with $2,000 in savings and a prayer. As if we hadn't poured the foundation ourselves, mixed concrete, until our backs screamed borrowed tools and traded favors and worked under porch lights when our day jobs were done. As if the deed didn't sit upstairs in my nightstand drawer with only my name on it. "I see," I said quietly. "You do." Roman looked relieved. Too relieved. He'd expected a fight, and my calm was throwing him off. "We'll help you look, of course," Daisy said, finally setting down her phone. "Maybe even cover the first few months if it's tight. But Mom Cassandra, you've been here long enough. It's time for the next chapter." Long enough. As if 48 years was some sort of lease that had expired. I stood up, picked up my coffee mug, the one Emma had made me in her 8th grade pottery class, lopsided and precious. "I need to think about this." "Of course," Roman said. "Take your time. We're not rushing you." But they were. I could feel it in the way Daisy's eyes had already started measuring the kitchen, probably mentally knocking down walls. In the way Roman couldn't quite meet my gaze. I walked past them, past the table where we'd eaten thousands of meals, past the doorway where I'd marked Roman's height every birthday until he turned 13 and decided he was too old for such things. The marks were still there, hidden under 3 coats of paint Daisy had insisted on. Griga, she called it. A word that wasn't quite gray, wasn't quite beige, wasn't quite anything. My bedroom was at the end of the hall, David's and mine. though it had been just mine for 12 years now, ever since the heart attack took him on a Tuesday morning while he was fixing the fence. He'd called my name once. By the time I got outside, he was already gone, one hand still holding the post he'd been mending like he was determined to finish the job even in death. I closed the door, sat on the edge of the bed. The quilt was one my mother had made each square a piece of fabric from our lives. Roman's baby blanket. David's old work shirts my wedding dress. A map of love stitched together with patience and hope. My hands started shaking then. Not from fear, not from sadness, though that would come too. From something else. Something that felt like a door opening inside my chest, letting in a cold, clarifying wind. They thought I would go quietly. Pack my things, shuffle off to some bland apartment where activities were scheduled and dinner was served at 5:30, and everyone pretended that this was living instead of just waiting. I opened the nightstand drawer. The deed was there yellowed but legal filed with the county 22 years ago when we made the final payment. Cassandra Eleanor Hayes. That was me before I became a Mitchell. Before I became someone's wife, someone's mother, someone whose name on a deed meant less than her son's childhood memories. Under the deed was something else. A small black book where David and I used to track household expenses. I still used it not for budgeting anymore, but for keeping track. Keeping score, if I was honest. I opened it to the section I'd started 5 years ago. The one I'd never shown anyone. 2019, $18,000. Investment in Daisy's marketing startup. It's going to change everything, Mom. We'll pay you back with interest, I promise. 2020, $12,000. Roman's credit card debt. I got in over my head. Just this once. I swear I learned my lesson. 2021, $8,500 medical bills when Daisy had complications after Emma's birth. Insurance didn't cover it all. I did. 2022, $22,000. Down payment for their first house. We'll pay you back, Mom, as soon as we're settled. They sold it 2 years later at a loss. 2023, $15,000. Roman's final semester of a master's program he never finished. I need to stay competitive in the job market. 2024, $6,000. Car repairs and back taxes I hadn't known about until the letters arrived. Total $81,500 not alone. Never called alone. Just help. Family helping family. What mothers do. And not once, not one single time had either of them said thank you. I closed the book, placed it back in the drawer under the deed. They thought I was soft. That's what 48 years of putting everyone else first had taught them. That I would bend, would yield, would shape myself around their needs, like water filling whatever container they provided. They had forgotten something important. Water-carved stone. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in the dark, listening to the house breathe around me. Old houses have their own language, the creak of floorboards settling the tick of cooling radiator pipes. The whisper of wind finding gaps in weather stripping David had meant to replace, but never got around to. Downstairs, I heard Roman and Daisy's voices. Low and tense, the kind of argument that's been simmering for hours, finally coming to a boil. She took it too well, Daisy was saying. She's planning something. She's not planning anything. She's my mother. She wants what's best for me. Us, Roman. What's best for us. Or is it just you she cares about? A pause. Then Roman quieter, she'll come around. She always does. Always does. I stared at the ceiling at the water stain that looked like a bird in flight. David had promised to fix the roof leak that caused it. Another thing on his never-ending list of never-finished projects. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from Emma Grandma. Can I come over after school tomorrow? Mom and Dad are being weird. I smiled in the dark. 16 years old, and she still called me Grandma instead of the trendy alternatives Daisy had suggested. Mimi, Gigi, names that sounded like something you'd call a poodle. Of course, Sweet Pea. I'll make cookies. The chocolate chip ones with the extra chips. Is there any other kind? You're the best. Love you. Love you too. I set down the phone. At least someone in this family still knew what love looked like. At 5:30, I gave up on sleep. Made my way downstairs in the pre-dawn dark, my route memorized by decades of early mornings. 12 steps down, turn left. 8 steps to the kitchen, hand trailing along the wall. David had insisted on texturing himself, saving us money we didn't have on contractors we couldn't afford. I made coffee. Strong black, the way David used to drink it. I'd tried to switch to decaf after he died on doctor's orders, but some rebellions are small and necessary. The kitchen window was still dark, but I knew what was out there. The rose bushes, the peach tree, the raised beds where I'd grown tomatoes that actually tasted like tomatoes, not the watery things they sold in stores. The white fence that needed painting. The gate that hung crooked because David had been in a hurry the day he installed it, and I'd never had the heart to fix it because it was the last thing his hands had touched. "Mom," I turned. Roman stood in the doorway, his hair sticking up, wearing the ratty college t-shirt he'd had for 20 years and refused to throw away. For a moment, he looked like he did at 19, uncertain, hopeful, still believing the world owed him something just for showing up. "Couldn't sleep?" I asked. "Yeah." He poured himself coffee, added too much sugar the way he always did. We stood there in the growing light, two people who'd once known each other completely, and now were strangers playing at family. "About yesterday," he started. "Don't. I just want you to know, Roman." I set down my mug. "Don't make this harder than it is." He looked relieved. Again. Always relieved when I made things easier for him. "I'll start looking at places this week," I said. "Maybe Virginia knows some good communities. She's been in real estate for years." "Virginia Hartley, from your book club, yes." "That's great, Mom. Really great." He hugged me quick and awkward. "You'll see. This is going to be good for everyone." Everyone. That word again. After he went back upstairs, I pulled out my phone, scrolled to Virginia's number. We'd been friends for 15 years, ever since we'd both shown up to the same community garden with the same impractical dreams of growing our own vegetables. She'd lost her husband around the same time I lost David. We understood each other. The text I sent was simple. "Can you come by Tuesday morning around 10 when I'm alone? I need your help with something." Quietly. The response came 30 seconds later. "I'll bring coffee." "Whatever you need." I smiled. Real friends don't ask questions when you need them. They just show up. The next 3 days, I was a woman playing a part. I looked at websites for senior living communities, made interested noises when Daisy showed me floor plans, asked questions about amenities and monthly costs, played the role of the agreeable mother who knew when she'd become a burden. But when they weren't looking, I was doing something else. I opened the closet in the guest room where I'd stored boxes of old financial records, tax returns going back decades, bank statements, receipts for every major purchase David and I had ever made. I wasn't sure what I was looking for at first, just a sense of wanting to know exactly what I had, what I owned, what was mine by right, and not just by memory. The deed was clear. The house was in my name alone. David had insisted on it when he got his diagnosis, a heart condition he'd hidden from me until it was too late to hide. "If something happens," he'd said, gripping my hand in the hospital bed after his first attack, "I don't want there to be any confusion. This is yours. You built it as much as I did. More, maybe." I'd cried then, told him nothing was going to happen. We had time. We didn't have time. We never have as much as we think. But the deed was mine. The house was mine. And despite what Romans seemed to believe, growing up somewhere didn't grant you ownership of it. I also found something else in those boxes, something I'd forgotten about, a letter from Daisy's attorney. 3 months old, sent to a firm in Portland. I'd signed for it by accident when the mailman delivered it to me instead of to Roman and Daisy's room. I'd meant to give it to them, then forgot when Emma got sick, and I spent 2 days making soup and taking temperatures while Roman and Daisy were too busy to leave work. I opened it now. Repetition for guardianship, Cassandra Eleanor Mitchell. My coffee went cold in my hand. I read it twice, then 3 times, then once more, slowly letting each word sink into my bones like ice water. Daisy had consulted an attorney about having me declared mentally incompetent, about taking guardianship, about gaining control of my assets for my own protection. The letter was exploratory, not yet filed. The attorney had outlined the process, getting a doctor to evaluate me, proving I could no longer make sound decisions, demonstrating that I was a danger to myself or others through neglect or poor judgment. There was a handwritten note in the margin in Daisy's looping script. "If we can prove she's declining, we won't have to wait for inheritance. We can access equity now." I sat on the floor of the guest room, surrounded by boxes of my life, holding proof that my daughter-in-law had been planning to take everything from me while pretending to care about my welfare. And Roman, had he known I thought about the way he wouldn't meet my eyes at breakfast, the way he'd been so relieved when I agreed to look at senior living communities, the way he'd said family property like he already owned it, he'd known. My son had known his wife was planning to have me declared incompetent, and he hadn't stopped it. Maybe he'd even encouraged it. I stood up, carefully folded the letter, placed it in my pocket. The door opening in my chest, that cold wind I'd felt turned into a howling gale. Tuesday morning arrived wrapped in fog. Roman left for work at 8 wherever he went these days to maintain the fiction of employment. Daisy had a client meeting at 9 or so, she said. Emma was at school. The house was mine. Virginia arrived at exactly 10 o'clock, carrying 2 lattes from the good coffee shop downtown and a leather portfolio that had seen better days. Cassandra. She hugged me tight and fierce. She smelled like cinnamon and determination. What's going on? I led her to the kitchen table, poured out the whole story while the lattes went lukewarm. Roman's request that I move out. The ledger of money never repaid. The letter about guardianship. Virginia's face went through several expressions, shock, anger, a kind of grim recognition that told me she'd seen this before, maybe in her own family. What do you want to do? She asked when I finished. I want to sell my house, she blinked. Sell it. Yes, quickly, quietly, without them knowing until it's done. Cassandra, that's... She stopped, looked at me, really looked. You're serious? Completely. She set down her coffee, opened her portfolio. Okay, let's talk about how we do this. Can it be done legally without their involvement? It's your house, your name on the deed. You don't need anyone's permission. She pulled out a calculator, started running numbers. In this neighborhood with this square footage, I'd estimate $780,000 to $820,000, maybe more if we find the right buyer. My breath caught. I'd known the house had value. You couldn't buy anything in Oregon for nothing these days. But hearing the number out loud made it real. The challenge, Virginia continued, is speed and secrecy. Normally selling takes 60 to 90 days. Inspections, appraisals, all of it public record. But I have some clients who are looking for exactly this, a solid older home with character. People who don't need financing, who can close quickly. Would you be willing to accept a slightly lower price for speed? How much lower? Maybe $750,000. Cash. Close in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Less than a month to dismantle 48 years. Do it, I said. Cassandra. Virginia reached across the table, gripped my hand. Are you sure? Once we start this, there's no going back. Roman is going to... I know what Roman is going to do. I know what Daisy is going to do. I know what they think of me. I squeezed her hand back. But they forgot something. This house is mine. My name, my work, my life. And I get to decide what happens to it. Virginia nodded slowly. Okay, then let's make sure we do this right. First thing, we need to document everything. That guardianship letter, copy it. Keep the original somewhere safe, not in this house. My safety deposit box at the bank. Good. Next, where will you go after? I'd been thinking about this. There's a cottage, 2 towns over near the library. I saw it last year when Emma and I went to a book sale. It had a for rent sign, but the owner mentioned they were thinking of selling. Do you remember the address? I did. I'd written it down in my garden journal, not sure why at the time. Maybe some part of me had known I'd need an escape route someday. Virginia made notes. I'll reach out today, quietly, see if they're still interested in selling. In the meantime, I'll start contacting my private list buyers who want discreet transactions. No MLS listings, no public showings. We'll call them private previews and schedule them only when Roman and Daisy are definitely out. How will we explain if someone sees you here? Old friends catching up? Estate planning? Charitable giving? Pick your cover story. She smiled, but it was edged with steel. I've been doing this a long time, Cassandra. I know how to be invisible when it matters. We spent the next 2 hours going over details. Virginia walked through the house, taking notes on her phone, careful, quiet photos that didn't look like real estate shots. She measured nothing, just observed. It's a good house, she said when we finished. Strong bones. Someone's going to love it. I did love it, I said quietly. I still do. That's not why I'm selling. I know. After Virginia left, I sat alone in the living room. The same room where I'd rocked Roman as a baby, walked him through his first steps, watched him open Christmas presents and birthday cards and college acceptance letters. The same room where David and I had slow danced on our 25th anniversary, just the 2 of us to a record player that skipped every 3rd beat. I wasn't selling the house to hurt Roman. I was selling it to save myself. There's a difference. That afternoon, Emma came home from school like she'd promised. She burst through the door with her usual chaos of backpack and band instrument and complaints about geometry homework. 16 years old, caught between child and adult, still sweet enough to want cookies with her grandmother. "Grandma," she hugged me, all elbows and enthusiasm. "It smells amazing. Are they ready?" "Just came out of the oven. Careful, they're hot." We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where I'd told her mother I'd look into moving. Emma grabbed 3 cookies and a glass of milk, completely unaware that everything was about to change. "So," she said, mouthful of chocolate chips, "what's this weird thing with Mom and Dad? They keep having these intense whisper fights, and Mom keeps measuring rooms. Are we redecorating?" I hesitated. Emma was smart, sharp. She'd figure it out eventually, but I wasn't ready to tell her yet. Not until I was sure of my own path. "They're thinking about some changes," I said carefully. "But nothing's decided." "Changes like what?" "Just changes. How's school?" She let me redirect, launching into a story about her chemistry teacher and a failed experiment involving baking soda. I listened, really listened, the way I wished someone would listen to me. When she finished her cookies, Emma leaned back in her chair, studying me with those sharp teenage eyes that saw more than adults gave her credit for. "Grandma, are you okay?" "Of course, Sweet Pea. Why?" "You just seem, I don't know, different. Like you're here but also somewhere else." "Smart girl. Too smart." "I'm just thinking about the future," I said. "What it might look like. Is it because of what Mom said about you moving somewhere?" So she'd heard. Of course she'd heard. Teenagers always heard the things parents thought they were hiding. "Emma?" "Because that's stupid." Her voice went fierce, protective. "This is your house. Why should you have to leave?" Sometimes I stopped, started again. Sometimes change happens whether we want it or not. The question is whether we let it happen to us or whether we make it happen on our terms. She frowned, trying to parse the meaning. "That sounds like something from a fortune cookie." "Maybe, but it's true anyway." She reached across the table, took my hand. Her fingers were sticky with chocolate, her nails painted a chipped purple. "I don't want you to go anywhere." "I know, baby, I know." "Promise you won't leave without saying goodbye, like really goodbye. Not just see you later, goodbye." "I promise." She seemed satisfied with that. Gathered her things, gave me another hug, longer this time, tighter. Like some part of her knew what I wouldn't say. After she left, I went upstairs to my bedroom, opened the closet, and pulled down the old suitcase David and I had used for our honeymoon. Red vinyl scuffed at the corners with stickers from places we'd never actually been, but dreamed about. I started packing. Not much, just enough. Clothes that mattered. Photos that couldn't be replaced. My mother's quilt. David's old flannel shirt that still smelled faintly like sawdust and Old Spice. And the deed. The letter about guardianship. The ledger of money owed. Evidence. Ammunition. Truth. I packed them all. The first showing happened on a Thursday. Roman had a networking lunch that would take all afternoon. Daisy was meeting with a potential client an hour away. Emma was at school. The house was mine for exactly 4 hours. Virginia arrived at noon with a couple in their late 60s. Samuel and Grace Brennan, she'd told me over the phone. Retired teachers. Their children had grown and moved to different states. They were looking for something with history, with soul. Not a new build where everything smelled like fresh paint and regret. I'd made scones that morning. Lemon poppy seed from a recipe my mother had taught me. The house smelled like butter and citrus and home. "Mrs. Mitchell." Samuel extended his hand. He had kind eyes, the sort that crinkled at the corners from years of smiling. "Thank you for letting us see your beautiful home." Grace was smaller, quieter, but her eyes missed nothing. She walked through the entryway, slowly running her fingers along the banister David had sanded smooth, the wood worn soft by decades of hands. "Someone loved this," she said softly. "You can always tell." Something in my chest loosened. Just a little. I gave them the tour. Not the real estate tour Virginia would have given square footage and storage space and recently updated this or that. I gave them the real tour, the story tour. "This is the kitchen where I taught my son to make pancakes. He always added too many chocolate chips. Still does probably, though I don't get to see it anymore. This is the living room where my husband and I watched the moon landing. We'd only been married 2 years. We thought we were watching the future. This is the bedroom where I sat up for 3 days straight when Roman had pneumonia. He was 7. The doctor said to watch for fever spikes. I didn't sleep until it broke. Grace's eyes were wet by the time we reached the backyard. The peach tree, I said, was planted the day Roman turned 5. He helped dig the hole, got dirt all over his birthday clothes. The fruit's bitter now, but it still blooms every spring. Samuel walked over to it, placed his hand on the trunk. Does it still bear fruit? Yes. Too much, actually. I make preserves, but I can't eat them all. They rarely are sweet after a certain age, he said quietly. Peach trees, I mean, but they still bloom. That's something. We stood there, the three of us, looking at a tree that had outlived its sweetness, but refused to stop trying. Why are you selling? Grace asked. Not demanding, just curious. Gentle. I could have lied. Given them the easy answer about downsizing, about wanting something more manageable at my age. But something about the way she'd touched the banister, the way Samuel had spoken about the peach tree, they deserved the truth. Because it's mine, I said simply. And I'd like it to go to someone who understands what that means. Grace nodded slowly. She understood. Women her age always did. After they left, Virginia stayed. We sat at the kitchen table with cold coffee and the weight of possibility. They want to make an offer, Virginia said. Full asking. $805,000. Cash. Close in 3 weeks. I let out a breath I hadn't known I was holding. Already. They called me from their car, said, and I quote, that house has been waiting for us. What do I do now? Say yes. I'll draw up the paperwork. We'll schedule the closing for... She checked her calendar. November 17th. That's a Friday. 3 weeks from this Friday. Can you make sure Roman and Daisy are out that morning? Roman has been leaving every weekday like clockwork, maintaining his fiction. Daisy usually has Friday meetings. Good. We'll close at 9 a.m. You'll need to sign papers, transfer the deed. The money will wire to your account by noon. She paused. Have you thought about what you'll tell them, and when? I have. I'd thought about little else for 3 days. I'd written it, revised it, torn it up, and started again. The letter that would end everything. I won't tell them before, I said. I'll leave it here, on this table, after I'm gone. Virginia studied me for a long moment. They're going to be devastated. They were going to have me declared incompetent. I know. I just want you to be prepared for their reaction. I am prepared. I met her eyes. I've been preparing my whole life. The next 2 weeks were strange. I lived in my house like a ghost haunting her own life. I cooked dinner. I did laundry. I made small talk about Daisy's clients and Emma's upcoming chemistry test. I played the part of the agreeable mother who'd accepted her fate. But at night, after they'd all gone to bed, I packed. 1 box at a time. Carefully selected items wrapped in newspaper and bubble wrap Virginia had brought me. The crystal vase my mother had given me. The photo albums that traced Roman from baby to man, all those versions of him I'd loved before he learned to see me as expendable. David's fishing journal filled with notes about weather patterns and the best spots on the river, and little observations about life that made me laugh and cry in equal measure. I hid the boxes in the garage behind old paint cans and Christmas decorations nobody ever looked at. Each night I added a little more to my escape. Daisy noticed something was different, but she interpreted it wrong. You seem at peace with the move, she said one evening, catching me in the hallway. I'm glad. I was worried you'd resist. No, I said. I'm not resisting. I was plotting. There's a difference. Roman was distracted, anxious. He spent hours on his laptop, presumably looking for work, or maybe looking at what my house would be worth once they renovated it. Once I was safely tucked away somewhere that didn't require them to see me unless they felt obligated. Only Emma seemed to sense something was truly wrong. She'd taken to coming by after school every day, doing homework at the kitchen table while I made dinner, asking questions that seemed casual but weren't. Grandma, where would you go if you moved? Somewhere quiet, maybe near a library. Would I be able to visit always, whenever you want? What about Mom and Dad? I paused, knife in hand, over half-chopped carrots. What about them? Would they visit you? I set down the knife, looked at my granddaughter, really looked. She was so young, but not as young as they thought. She saw things, understood things. I don't know, Sweet Pea. They should, she said fiercely. If they make you move, they should at least visit. Maybe they will, but we both knew the truth. Once I was out of sight, I'd be out of mind. That's how it worked. That's how it had always worked. The Monday before closing, I did something I'd been avoiding. I went through the house one last time as its owner. Really went through it. Not cleaning or organizing. Just remembering. I stood in the doorway of Roman's childhood bedroom. The wallpaper was still there, rockets and stars peeling at the corners. He'd wanted to be an astronaut once. I'd bought him a telescope with grocery money, and we'd lived on soup and bread for 3 weeks to afford it. We'd spent nights out in the yard, him pointing at constellations, me pretending I could tell Mars from Venus. When had he stopped looking at stars, I went to the bathroom where I'd given him his first haircut, where I'd bandaged his scraped knees, where I'd held his head while he threw up from too much Halloween candy. I stood in the hallway where I'd hung every picture he'd ever drawn in elementary school, where Daisy had insisted on repainting something more sophisticated. The drawings were gone now. I'd saved them all in a box, but they'd never gone back up. I ended in the bedroom David and I had shared. Our marriage bed. The place where we'd laughed and fought and made love and made plans. The place where I'd lain awake after he died, convinced I could still hear him breathing in the dark. I opened the closet. His clothes were long gone, donated to Goodwill years ago, but his smell still lingered somehow. Or maybe I just wanted it to. I hope you'd understand, I whispered to the empty space. I hope you'd tell me I'm doing the right thing. The house settled around me, that particular creaking sound old houses make when temperature changes. It sounded like agreement. Wednesday afternoon, Emma came home from school crying. Not dramatic teenage tears, real tears, the kind that come from someplace deep and broken. Sweet pea, what happened? I pulled her into my arms, all angles and sobs and 16-year-old confusion. They're getting divorced, she hiccuped. Mom and Dad, I heard them fighting last night. Mom said it's over, that they're just waiting until after you're settled to tell everyone. My heart sank. I'd known Roman and Daisy's marriage was strained, anyone with eyes could see it, but I hadn't realized it had gotten this bad. I'm so sorry, baby. And they think I don't know. Emma pulled back, wiping her eyes with her sleeve. They think I'm stupid. They keep pretending everything's fine, but I hear them. Dad sleeps on the couch now. Mom barely talks to him. And they're both so worried about money in this stupid house, and she stopped, looked at me with sudden, terrible understanding. That's why they want you to move. They need the money. They're going to sell this place and split it. Emma, that's it, isn't it? They're breaking up and they need your house to pay for it. I couldn't lie to her. Not anymore. I think that's part of it, yes. That's so messed up. She started crying again. This is your home. You shouldn't have to leave just because they screwed up their marriage. I held her while she cried. My strong, smart granddaughter who was learning too young that the people you love most can disappoint you in ways that shatter you. When she finally calmed down, I made us both tea. We sat at the table, the same table where I'd sat with Virginia, where I'd eaten thousands of meals, where life had happened in all its messy glory. Grandma, Emma said quietly, can I tell you something? Always. I don't want to live with either of them. When they split up, I want to live with you. My heart broke and soared at the same time. Oh, sweet pea. I mean it. You're the only one who actually cares about me. Mom's always working. Dad's always pretending. But you show up. You listen. You make cookies and help with homework, and you don't make me feel like I'm interrupting something more important. Emma, I love you more than you can possibly know. But I can't. Why not? You'll have a new place, right? It could have 2 bedrooms. I could help with rent. I have babysitting money saved up. It's not about money. I took her hands across the table. It's about custody and legalities and your parents' rights. What about my rights? Don't I get to choose? When you're 18, yes. But until then, I'm stuck. She pulled her hands away. Great. We sat in silence. Outside, the afternoon light was fading. The peach tree's shadow stretched across the yard like it was reaching for something it couldn't quite touch. Emma, I said carefully, what if I told you that no matter what happens, you'll always have a place with me? Maybe not right now, maybe not in the way you want, but always, forever, no matter what. What do you mean? I got up, went to my bedroom, came back with a small wooden box I'd bought at an antique store last week. Inside, I'd placed something I'd been working on in secret, 17 letters. One for each year from now until Emma turned 33. Each one sealed, dated, marked with the age she should be when she opened it. "These are for you," I said. "One for every birthday, starting with 17 next month." Emma touched the box like it might disappear. "What do they say?" "Different things. Advice. Stories. Things I want you to know. Things I might not be around to tell you in person." "Grandma, don't talk like that. You're not that old." "I'm not planning on going anywhere. But life is unpredictable, and I want you to have these. To know that I thought about your future, that I cared about the woman you're going to become." She opened the box, pulled out the first letter marked 17. "Can I read it now?" "It's yours. You can do whatever you want with it." She opened it carefully like she was unwrapping something precious. Her eyes moved across the words I'd spent 3 nights perfecting. "Emma, by the time you read this, you'll be 17, old enough to drive, to vote, to make some of your own decisions. Not quite an adult, but not a child anymore either. I want you to know something: you are not a burden. You are not too much. You are not an interruption to anyone's more important plans. Your voice matters. Your feelings matter. Your dreams matter. When I was 17, I thought I had to be small to be loved. Quiet. Agreeable. I thought if I just made myself useful enough, needed enough, people would keep me around. It took me until I was 72 to learn the truth: the people worth keeping don't make you earn your place. They just give it to you. Freely. Without conditions. Your parents are going through something difficult right now. They're going to make mistakes. They already have. But their mistakes are not your fault. Their choices are not your responsibility. You get to choose who you become. Not your mother. Not your father. You. And whoever you choose to be, I will love her completely." There's something else in this box. At the bottom, under all the letters. A key. It's to a place I'm moving to. A cottage. Small but mine. The address is written on the back of this letter. That place will always have a room for you. Always. Whether I'm there or not. It's yours. Your sanctuary. Your backup plan. Your home when the world feels too heavy. I love you, Emma. More than words. More than letters. More than time. Happy 17th birthday, my brave girl. Grandma Emma was crying again by the time she finished. "Grandma, where are you going?" "Somewhere safe, somewhere mine, and you're always welcome." "When soon?" "How soon?" I hesitated. The closing was in 2 days. 48 hours from now, everything would be different. "Very soon. But I promise, Emma, I will tell you where I am. You will always be able to find me." She threw her arms around me. "Don't leave without saying goodbye." "I won't." It was a lie. A small one. A necessary one. Because I couldn't risk Emma accidentally telling Roman or Daisy. Couldn't risk them stopping the sale, finding a way to keep me trapped. Sometimes love means protecting people from truth they're not ready to carry. After Emma left, I went back to my bedroom. Added one more thing to the pile of items to take the wooden box I'd prepared for her. Inside, under all the letters, was indeed a key. And $10,000 in a savings account I'd opened in her name, money I'd been setting aside for my Social Security from small jobs I'd done over the years that Roman and Daisy never knew about. Emma's future. Protected. Insured. No matter what happened next, Thursday night, the night before closing, I made dinner. Pot roast with potatoes and carrots. Roman's favorite. The meal I'd made for every birthday, every celebration, every time he needed comfort food. I set the table with the good plates, the ones we only used for holidays. Lit candles even though it wasn't a special occasion. Or maybe it was. The last supper in the house where I'd raised him. Roman noticed. "This is fancy. What's the occasion?" "No occasion. I just wanted to make something nice." Daisy was on her phone as always. Emma was quiet, watching me with eyes that knew too much. We ate in near silence. The only sounds were forks on plates and the old house settling around us. "Mom," Roman said finally, "we need to talk about timeline for your move." "It's handled." "Handled how?" "I have a plan. You don't need to worry about it." He exchanged a glance with Daisy. They thought I meant I'd found a senior living place, that I was finally cooperating. "That's great, Mom. Really great. So when—" "Everything will be clear very soon," I said. "I promise." After dinner, I cleaned up while they dispersed, Roman to his laptop, Daisy to her phone, Emma to her room. I washed each dish slowly, deliberately. The last time I'd washed dishes in this sink. The last time I'd dry them with the dish towel David had accidentally shrunk in the dryer. The last time I'd stand in this kitchen as its owner. At midnight, I went through the house one final time. I'd already taken what I wanted. The boxes were in Virginia's storage unit waiting. All that was left was to say goodbye. I stood in each room. Let the memories wash over me without trying to hold on to them. You can't take memories with you. They live in the walls and the floors and the spaces between things. They belong to the house now. Thank you, I whispered to the empty rooms, for holding us, for keeping us safe, for being home. The house creaked back. Agreement. Understanding. Release. In my bedroom, I laid out tomorrow's clothes. Comfortable but dignified. I'd be signing papers, ending a life, beginning another. I didn't sleep. Just lay in the dark, listening to the house breathe one last time. At 5 a.m., before anyone else was awake, I got up, dressed, made the bed with careful hospital corners the way my mother had taught me. On the kitchen table, I placed an envelope. On the outside, for Roman and Daisy. Inside the letter I'd written and rewritten a dozen times. The truth, the receipts, the evidence, the goodbye. And something else. A copy of the guardianship consultation letter from Daisy's attorney. With a sticky note attached in my handwriting, I'm completely competent, and I know what you planned. The closing was at 9 a.m. I dressed in the pre-dawn dark, left the house at 7 before anyone stirred. My car was already packed, just one suitcase and my purse. Everything else was already moved or didn't matter. I'd written a note for Emma separately. Smaller, private. Left it in her room while she slept. Emma, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. I'm sorry I couldn't say goodbye in person, but I kept my promise. You know where to find me. The address is in your box. Remember, you are not responsible for fixing your parents' mistakes. You are only responsible for becoming yourself. I love you. I'll see you soon. Grandma P.S. Check your email. I sent you something important. The email was the login information for the savings account, her inheritance, her freedom fund. Virginia met me at the title company office. Margaret Kim, the estate attorney I'd hired, was already there reviewing paperwork. Samuel and Grace arrived at 8:45, holding hands, looking nervous and excited in equal measure. Mrs. Mitchell, Grace said, are you sure about this? I've never been more sure of anything. At exactly 9 o'clock, I signed the deed transfer, watched my name, Cassandra Eleanor Mitchell, be replaced by Samuel and Grace Brennan. 48 years, reduced to a signature. The wire transfer hit my new bank account at 9:37 a.m. $805 at $1,000. More money than I'd ever had in my life. Enough to buy the cottage. Enough to live on. Enough to leave Emma when I died. Enough. What will you do now? Margaret asked as we stood on the sidewalk outside. Go home, I said, then corrected myself. Go to my new home. Samuel and Grace gave me the keys to their car they'd follow in Virginia's. They wanted me to have one last moment in the house, to say goodbye properly. We won't go in until noon, Samuel said. Take your time. I drove back to the house, to the building that used to be my house at 10:15. Roman's car was gone. Work fiction. Daisy's car was gone too. Emma was at school. The house was empty. I let myself in with my key, stood in the entryway and felt nothing. That surprised me. I'd expected grief, regret, something. Instead, I felt light. I walked to the kitchen. The envelope was still on the table unopened. They hadn't been home yet. I didn't touch it, just looked at it, the bomb I was leaving behind. Then I placed my key on the table beside it. The original key. The one David had made the day we moved in, the one I'd carried for 48 years. Goodbye, I said to the empty kitchen. I walked out the front door, didn't lock it. Samuel and Grace had their own keys. They'd be arriving soon. I got in my car and drove away. Didn't look back. Not even once. Roman came home at 3:45. I knew this because Emma texted me, Dad just found the letter. He's freaking out. Then he's calling you. Like a lot. My phone was blowing up. Roman, Daisy, Roman again, voicemails, texts. Mom, where are you? What did you do? Call me right now. There are people in the house. They say they own it. What is happening? I turned off my phone. I was already at the cottage. My cottage. In a town 2 hours away where no one knew my name or my story. It was small, 2 bedrooms, a garden, a porch where I could sit and watch the sunrise without anyone asking me to move for their convenience. Virginia had helped me move my boxes in yesterday, had stocked the fridge with basics, had left a bottle of wine on the counter with a note to new beginnings. I poured myself a glass, sat on the porch as the afternoon faded to evening. My phone stayed off. Tomorrow I'd turn it back on. Tomorrow I'd deal with the fallout. Tomorrow I'd face what I'd done. But tonight I sat in my own house, drinking wine I'd chosen, watching a sunset that belonged to no one but me. And for the first time in years, maybe decades, I felt like myself again. Not someone's mother, not someone's burden, not someone's convenient source of money or labor or space to occupy. Just Cassandra, alive, free, home. I turned my phone back on at 7 a.m. Saturday morning. 63 missed calls, 47 text messages, 12 voicemails. I made coffee first. Strong black the way I liked it when there was no one around to judge. Sat on my new porch in my new chair and watched the neighborhood wake up around me. A man walking his dog. A woman collecting her newspaper. Normal people living normal lives, unaware that 2 hours away my old life was imploding. I listened to the voicemails on speaker, the phone sitting on the porch railing like a bomb I was diffusing from a safe distance. Voicemail 1, Roman 3:52 p.m. Friday. Mom, what the hell is going on? There are people in the house saying they own it. They have paperwork. They have keys. Mom, call me back right now. Voicemail 2, Daisy 4:07 p.m. Friday. Cassandra, I don't know what you think you're doing, but this is not funny. These people need to leave. Call us back immediately. Voicemail 3, Roman 4:31 p.m. Friday. I found your letter. I read it. Mom, we need to talk, please. This is insane. You can't just sell the house without telling us. We live here. Please call me back. Voicemail 4, Daisy 5:15 p.m. Friday. We've called a lawyer. What you did is probably illegal. Elder abuse in reverse or something. You're clearly not thinking straight. We're going to fix this. Voicemail 5, Roman 6:43 p.m. Friday, his voice cracking. Mom, where are you? Are you safe? I'm worried. Forget the house. Just tell me you're okay, please. Voicemail 6, Daisy 7:22 p.m. Friday. The lawyer says the sale is legal, that it's your house and you had every right. But Cassandra, think about what you're doing. Think about Emma. Where is she supposed to live? Where are we supposed to go? You're being selfish. Selfish. That word hung in the morning air like smoke. Voicemail 7, Roman 9:18 p.m. Friday. I found the receipt copies, the 81,500 and the letter from Daisy's attorney. Mom, I can explain. It wasn't what you think. We were just exploring options. We were worried about you. Please, Mom, call me. Voicemail 8, Roman 11:34 p.m. Friday, drunk or close to it. You know what? Fine. Keep the money, keep your pride, but don't expect me to come crawling back. You want to be alone. Congratulations. You win. Voicemail 9, Emma 7 a.m. Saturday. Grandma, please call me. Dad's losing it. Mom's losing it. They made me sleep at a hotel last night because the new owners changed the locks. I found your letter. I have the box. I know where you are. Can I come see you? Please, I don't want to be here. That one broke through my armor. Emma. Sweet Emma caught in the crossfire of adult decisions and adult consequences. I called her back first. She answered on the first ring. Grandma. I'm here, Sweet Pea. I'm okay. Where are you? Somewhere safe. Somewhere mine. Can I come? I heard voices in the background. Roman shouting something. Daisy's sharp response. Are you with them now? I asked. We're at a Holiday Inn, near the airport. Dad's on the phone with lawyers. Mom's on the phone with her sister. Everyone's yelling. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Grandma, they're so mad. At you. At each other. At everything. I know, baby. I'm sorry you're in the middle of this. I'm not in the middle. I'm on your side. Fierce. Loyal. What you did was amazing. They deserved it. Emma. They did. They were going to kick you out, take your house, make you live in some depressing old people prison. You beat them at their own game. I smiled despite everything. It wasn't a game, Sweet Pea. I know, but still. A pause. Can I really come visit like today? I thought about it. Roman and Daisy would lose their minds. They'd accuse me of kidnapping, of manipulation, of poisoning their daughter against them. But Emma was 16, old enough to choose where she spent her Saturday. Yes, I said. But you have to tell your parents where you're going. I won't be accused of taking you without permission. They won't let me. Then I'll call them. I'll tell them you're welcome here any time. What they decide is up to them. I heard Emma take a shaky breath. Okay, I'll ask. Text me what they say. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, baby. After we hung up, I sat with my coffee and watched the sun climb higher, steeling myself for what came next. I called Roman. He answered before the first ring finished. Mom, just that one word, packed with so much anger, relief, confusion, hurt. Hello, Roman. Where are you? I'm safe. I'm settled. That's all you need to know right now. That's all. Mom, you sold the house. Our house. Without telling us. Without warning. You just did it. It was my house, Roman. My name on the deed. My decision to make. We lived there. Yes, you did. As my guests. And guests don't get to tell the host when it's time for her to leave. Silence. Heavy. Loaded. I read your letter, he said finally. The part about the money. The $81,500. Yes. We were going to pay you back. It's been hard, Mom. The economy, the job market. Roman, I never asked for the money back. That's not why I listed it. I listed it so you'd understand. Every time you asked for help, I gave it. No questions, no conditions. But when I needed help, when I needed to stay in my own home, you told me to leave. We weren't kicking you out. We were trying to help you transition. Into what? Into being invisible, into being convenient. My voice rose despite my best efforts. You wanted me gone, Roman. Be honest for once. You wanted the house. You wanted the equity. You wanted me out of the way. That's not... He stopped. Started again. Okay, maybe. Maybe we did want the space. Is that so wrong? Daisy and I are trying to build something. We need room to... You have a daughter who needs stability more than you need a home office. Don't bring Emma into this. She's already in it. She called me this morning from a hotel, Roman. A hotel. Because you're both so focused on being angry at me that you forgot she's the one who actually has to live through your choices. More silence. She wants to come see you, he said quietly. Today. I know. I told her she could. If you give permission. Why would I do that? So you can poison her against us. Tell her more stories about what terrible people we are. I've never told Emma you're terrible. She figured that out on her own. That landed. I heard him suck in a breath like I'd slapped him. That's not fair. None of this is fair, Roman. But it's honest. Finally, after years of pretending, I softened my voice slightly. Let her come, please. She needs somewhere calm. Somewhere she can just be 16 and not responsible for her parents' drama. If I let her come, how do I know you'll send her back? Because I'm not kidnapping my granddaughter no matter what Daisy's already accused me of. Emma has school Monday. She has her life. I'm not taking her away from that. I'm just offering her a safe place to breathe for a day. A long pause. I heard muffled voices, Roman covering the phone, talking to Daisy. Sharp, angry whispers. He came back. Fine, she can come, but you bring her back tomorrow by 6 p.m. I'll bring her back. And Mom, we're not done talking about this. About the house, about the money, about all of it. I know. I'm angry. I know that too. I don't know if I can forgive this. Something in my chest twisted, but I kept my voice steady. I don't know if I can forgive what you tried to do to me, so I guess we're even. I hung up before he could respond. Emma arrived at noon. Roman drove her. I'd given them the address after a long argument about trust and transparency. He pulled up in a rental car since their old car had been parked at the house and was technically now on Samuel and Grace's property. I watched from the porch as Emma got out. She had her backpack, her phone, and the wooden box of letters clutched to her chest like a shield. Roman got out too, stood by the driver's door, looking at my cottage, at me on the porch, at the life I'd built in less than 24 hours. He looked terrible. Unshaven dark circles under his eyes, wearing the same clothes from yesterday. A man who'd spent the night in a hotel trying to figure out how his entire life had collapsed in a single afternoon. Part of me wanted to go to him, to smooth his hair like I used to when he was small, to tell him everything would be okay. But I stayed on the porch. Hi, Roman, I said. Mom. He couldn't quite meet my eyes. Nice place. It suits me. Emma was already halfway up the walkway, but she stopped, looked back at her father. Something passed between them, some silent conversation I wasn't privy to. Dad, she said quietly, you should apologize. Emma, you should apologize to Grandma for what you and Mom tried to do. Roman's jaw tightened. This is between me and your grandmother. No, it's not. It affects all of us. And you were wrong. Emma's voice was shaking but firm. You were going to make her leave. Her own house. The house she built. That's messed up, Dad. You know it is. You don't understand the whole situation. I understand enough. Emma turned back to me. Can I go inside, Grandma? Of course, Sweet Pea. Kitchen straight ahead. There's lemonade in the fridge. She went in without looking back at Roman. We stood there, mother and son, with 20 feet and 48 years of complications between us. She's a smart kid, I said finally. Too smart. He ran his hand through his hair. She's been like this since she found your letter yesterday. Defending you, attacking us. We're her parents and she's treating us like we're the enemy. Maybe you should ask yourselves why. That's not fair. We've done our best. Have you? I stepped down off the porch. Closer, but not too close. Roman, when was the last time you asked Emma how she was doing, really asked? Not just how was school, but how she was feeling. What she was thinking about. What scared her or excited her. We talk all the time. You talk at her. There's a difference. He flinched. You're one to lecture about parenting. You're right. I made mistakes. I probably made you too comfortable, too used to being saved from your own consequences. I crossed my arms. But I never made you feel like you were in the way. Like you were taking up space I wanted for something better. I never said you were in the way. You didn't have to say it. You asked me to leave. That was enough. Roman looked down at his shoes. Beat-up sneakers that probably cost more than my monthly grocery bill. Daisy and I are getting divorced. I know. Emma told me. She told you? He looked up hurt. When this week, she heard you fighting. Of course she did. He laughed bitterly. Nothing's private anymore. Everything's falling apart and it's all happening in front of her. Some parents we are. You can still be good parents, even divorced. How we can't even afford separate apartments. We're fighting about who gets what from a house we don't own anymore because you sold it out from under us. There it was. The resentment. The blame. I sold my house, I corrected. Not yours, mine. Semantics. No, ownership. There's a difference. I took a breath. Roman, did you know about the guardianship consultation? His face went pale. How did you the letter, in the envelope? Did you know Daisy was trying to have me declared incompetent? He was quiet for a long moment. Too long. You did know, I said softly. You knew, and you didn't stop her. I didn't encourage her either. That's not the defense you think it is. Mom, we were desperate. The debt, the job loss, everything, we were drowning. And you had this house, this valuable asset, and you were just living in it, alone. All that space, all that equity. It seemed like such a waste. A waste. I tasted the word like poison. I was a waste. That's not what I meant. Yes, it is. I was wasting valuable real estate by having the audacity to keep living in my own home. I shook my head. Do you know what hurts most? Not the asking me to leave. Not even the guardianship attempt. It's that you thought I wouldn't find out. That you could manipulate me, control me, push me aside, and I'd just accept it because I'm old and you're my son, and that's what old mothers do. Mom, I built that house with my bare hands, Roman, with your father. We mixed concrete. We hammered nails. We painted walls and planted gardens and poured our lives into every corner of that place. And you looked at it and saw dollar signs. Tears were running down his face now. Real tears. Not manipulative ones. The kind that come from actual shame. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. I know you are. Now. Because you got caught. Because you lost. I softened slightly. But are you sorry for what you tried to do? Or just sorry it didn't work? He opened his mouth, closed it, couldn't answer. That's what I thought. I turned back to the porch. Emma can stay until tomorrow at 6. I'll feed her dinner and breakfast. She'll be safe here. Mom, please, can we talk about this? Really talk. Not today, Roman. Today I need space. You need space. We both need time to figure out what comes next. Will there be a next for us? I looked at him. My son, my only child. The boy I'd loved more than my own life. The man who'd tried to take that life away from me. I don't know, I said honestly. Ask me again in a month. I went inside and closed the door. Emma and I spent Saturday afternoon in the garden. The cottage had come with raised beds already built, waiting for someone to love them. Emma helped me plant herbs, basil, rosemary, thyme. Simple things that would grow even if I forgot to tend them sometimes. We didn't talk about Roman or Daisy or the house. We just dug in the dirt and planted seeds and let the afternoon sun warm our backs. This is nice, Emma said, patting down soil around a basil plant. Quiet. Too quiet. No, perfect quiet. She sat back on her heels. I didn't realize how loud my life was until now. Everyone always talking or yelling or demanding something. Here it's just quiet. Quiet can be healing. Is that why you left to find quiet? I considered the question. Partly, but mostly I left to find myself again. The version of me that existed before I became someone's wife, someone's mother, someone's burden. You were never a burden, Grandma. Thank you for saying that. But your parents didn't agree. Emma pulled off her gardening gloves. Can I tell you something? Promise you won't be mad. I promise. Part of me is glad you sold the house. Is that awful? She looked guilty. Like I know it's your house and you built it and everything. But living there these past few months with Mom and Dad fighting all the time and everyone walking on eggshells, it didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a prison. It's not awful. It's honest. But where will we live now? Where will I live? That's something your parents need to figure out, together or separately. I don't want to choose between them. You won't have to. Whatever they decide, you'll still be their daughter, still be loved. I touched her face gently. And you'll still be my granddaughter. That doesn't change based on zip codes. She hugged me, then sudden and fierce. I'm scared, Grandma. I know, baby. Change is scary, even when it's necessary. Will you really let me come here whenever I want? Always. You have the key. You have the address. This is your safe place. Forever. We finished planting as the sun started to sink. Made dinner together, simple pasta with the basil we'd just planted torn fresh from the stems. Ate on the porch while the evening cooled around us. Emma opened her second letter after dinner, the one marked 17, that I'd told her she could read early since her birthday was only 3 weeks away. I watched her face as she read, saw the tears, the smile, the understanding. Thank you, she said when she finished. For these, for the money, for the safe place, for everything. You don't need to thank me. That's what grandmothers do. Not all of them. Rachel Carter's grandmother forgot her birthday last year, and Tommy's grandmother always tells him he's getting fat. Well, I'm not those grandmothers. I'm yours, and my job is to love you without conditions. Dad and Mom love me. They're just distracted right now. I know they love you, but love isn't enough if it doesn't come with presence, with attention, with making someone feel seen. I squeezed her hand. Promise me something. What? No. Promise me you'll never let anyone make you feel invisible. Not a friend, not a boyfriend, not even your parents. Your voice matters. Your presence matters. You matter. I promise. We sat in comfortable silence after that, watching stars appear one by one. The same stars she and Roman used to look at through that telescope I'd bought with grocery money all those years ago. I wondered if he remembered those nights, if he ever looked up at the sky and thought of me. Sunday morning, Daisy called. I almost didn't answer, but Emma was in the shower and I knew I'd have to face this eventually. Cassandra, her voice was ice wrapped in politeness. Daisy, I need to speak with you about the house. The house is sold. There's nothing to discuss. Actually, there's quite a bit to discuss. Our belongings are still there. The new owners are refusing to let us collect them without an appointment. We need you to intervene. Why would I do that? Because you created this mess. The least you can do is help us clean it up. I took a breath, counted to 5. Your belongings are your responsibility. Contact Samuel and Grace directly. They're reasonable people. I'm sure they'll accommodate you. We don't want to deal with strangers. We want to deal with you. I'm not a mediator, Daisy. This is between you and the new owners. You're being deliberately difficult. No, I'm being done. There's a difference. You know what, fine. Be done. But don't expect us to just forgive and forget. What you did was vindictive and selfish. You've destroyed this family. Something in me snapped. I destroyed this family, I destroyed it. My voice rose. Daisy, you tried to have me declared incompetent. You consulted a lawyer about taking guardianship so you could access my assets. You wanted to control my life, my money, my choices. And you did all of it while smiling at me over breakfast, while letting me babysit Emma, while taking my money whenever you needed it. Silence on the other end. I know about the email, I continued. The one where you wrote, if we can prove she's declining, we won't have to wait for inheritance. You weren't worried about my welfare. You were worried about your bank account. That was taken out of context. What context makes that okay? What possible explanation makes plotting to take away someone's autonomy acceptable? We were protecting you. No, you were protecting your financial interests. There's a difference. You don't understand what it's like. The pressure, the debt. We were drowning, and you were sitting in that big house all alone, that I owned, that I built, that was mine. And now it's gone. Congratulations. You've made your point. You've punished us. You've won. This was never about winning, Daisy. It was about survival. My survival. The survival of my dignity and autonomy and right to make my own choices. I was crying now hot, angry tears. I gave you and Roman everything. Money, time, love, support. And it was never enough. You always wanted more. Because we needed more. Because life is expensive and hard and you thought the solution was to take from the person who'd already given you everything. I wiped my eyes. I'm done giving, Daisy. I'm done being a resource to extract. I'm done being invisible in my own life. So Emma told you about the divorce. She did. Good. Then you know this is all falling apart anyway. The house would have been our safety net, our way to start over. And you took that away. I took back what was mine, what I'd earned, what I'd built. I softened my voice slightly. Daisy, I'm sorry your marriage is ending. I'm sorry you're in debt. I'm sorry life is hard. But none of that gave you the right to my house, or my dignity, or my future. Her voice broke. I just wanted us to be okay. I thought if we had the house, if we had that equity, we could fix things, get back on our feet, start fresh. You can still do those things, just not with my money, not with my sacrifice. What are we supposed to do now? I don't know, but that's not my problem to solve anymore. She was crying now too, full ugly sobs. I hate you. I know. I hope you're happy. In your little cottage, all alone. I am happy. For the first time in years, I'm happy. I looked around my small, sunlit kitchen. And I'm not alone. I have Emma. I have Virginia. I have myself. That's more than enough. I hung up before she could respond. At 5:30 Sunday evening, I drove Emma back to the hotel. Roman and Daisy were in separate rooms now, they're split official even in their temporary lodging. Emma hugged me tight before getting out of the car. Thank you, Grandma, for everything. You're welcome anytime, remember? I know. She pulled back, looked at me seriously. Grandma, are you and Dad going to be okay eventually? I don't know, Sweet Pea, I hope so, but that's up to him. He loves you. He's just stupid sometimes. I laughed despite everything. Most people are stupid sometimes. The question is whether they learn from it. Roman came down to the parking lot, stood awkwardly by the car while Emma gathered her things. Thank you, he said stiffly, for keeping her safe. She's my granddaughter. Of course I kept her safe. Emma headed inside, giving us privacy we probably didn't deserve. Roman shoved his hands in his pockets. Mom, I've been thinking about what you said, about whether I'm sorry for what I did or just sorry I got caught. And I don't know yet. That's the honest answer. I'm sorry you're hurt. I'm sorry things went the way they did. But am I sorry we asked you to move? I don't know. We needed space. That was real. I know it was real. But there were other solutions. You could have looked for a bigger place. You could have actually communicated with me like an adult instead of treating me like a problem to solve. You're right. We could have. He looked down. For what it's worth, the guardianship thing, I told Daisy no. When she first brought it up, I said it was too far, too cruel. She backed off. I thought she'd dropped it. But she hadn't. No, she kept consulting lawyers behind my back. When I found out we had a huge fight, that's actually what started the whole divorce conversation. I realized I didn't trust her anymore, that maybe I never really had. I'm sorry your marriage is ending. Are you, though? He looked at me. Be honest. I thought about it. I'm sorry you're hurting. I'm sorry Emma's caught in the middle. But am I sorry Daisy's out of your life? I paused. No, not really. I think she brought out the worst in you, and I think you let her. That's fair. He kicked at the pavement. What happens now with us? I don't know. I need time. You need time. We both need to figure out who we are after all this. Can I call you in a few weeks? You can. I might not answer right away, but you can call. Mom, his voice cracked. I really am sorry, even if I'm not sure what I'm sorry for yet. I'm sorry. I looked at him. My son. My complicated, flawed human son. I know, I said softly. That's a start. I drove away before either of us could say anything else. 3 weeks later, Emma turned 17. I drove back to meet her not at the hotel, but at a new apartment Roman had rented. Small 2-bedroom affordable. Daisy had moved in with her sister. They were working out custody arrangements. Emma was thriving somehow, despite everything. Or maybe because of it. Grandma, she hugged me at the door. You came? Of course I came. It's your birthday. Roman was in the kitchen trying to make a cake, burning it from the smell, but trying. Hey, Mom, he said. Awkward. Hopeful. Hey, we had dinner pizza from the place Emma liked. Sang happy birthday off-key. Emma opened her presents books from me, a new laptop from Roman, probably bought with money he didn't have, gift cards from Daisy delivered by Emma's cousin. Then Emma pulled out the box. The letters. I'm opening number 17, she announced. Officially now. She read it silently this time, smiled, cried a little, then looked at me. Thank you, Grandma, for seeing me. Thank you for being worth seeing. After dinner, Roman walked me to my car. She's doing okay, I observed. She is. She's stronger than both her parents combined. He leaned against the car. Mom, I've been going to therapy. Real therapy. Talking about everything. Good. That's good. The therapist said something that stuck with me. She said that sometimes we hurt the people we love most because we assume they'll always be there. We take them for granted because we can't imagine a world where they're not. Your therapist is smart. I took you for granted. For my whole life. He looked at me. I assumed you'd always save me. Always be there. Always give me one more chance. And when you weren't anymore, when you chose yourself, I lost my mind. Roman, let me finish, please. He took a breath. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Not yet. I know I haven't earned it, but I want you to know I'm trying. I'm trying to be better. For Emma, for me. And someday if you'll let me for you, I felt tears prickling. That's all I ever wanted. For you to try. Can we start over, not forget what happened? Just start building something new. I thought about it. About 48 years of love and disappointment and sacrifice and resentment. About the house I'd lost and the freedom I'd gained. About Emma and her letters and the future spreading out before all of us. We can try, I said finally. Slowly, with boundaries, with honesty. I'll take it. He surprised me by hugging me. Really hugging me the way he used to when he was small, and I was his whole world. I hugged him back. Not forgiveness, not yet, but possibility. 6 months later, I sat in my garden with Virginia. Spring had arrived, and the herbs Emma and I had planted were thriving. The roses I'd transplanted from the old house had taken root. The cottage felt like home now. Really home. Did you hear? Virginia asked, sipping her tea. Samuel and Grace sent a photo. They painted the kitchen yellow, like it was before. I smiled. That's nice. They said the house is happy again. That they can feel it. Houses remember, I said. Good and bad. They hold on to what happened in them. Do you ever regret it? Selling. I thought about the question. Really thought. No, I said finally. I regret that it had to happen. I regret that my son couldn't see me until I forced him to. But selling, no. That was the right choice. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Can I come over this weekend? I need to escape the parental drama. I smiled and typed back. Always. Your room is ready. Another text. This one from Roman Mom. Can we have lunch next week? My treat. No agenda. Just lunch. I looked at it for a long moment before responding, Wednesday at noon. The cafe near the library. Things getting better with Roman? Virginia asked. Getting somewhere. I'm not sure better is the right word yet. But we're talking. Really talking. That's something. And Daisy? Haven't heard from her since that phone call. I doubt I will. And that's okay. Some bridges burn for a reason. We sat in comfortable silence. Two women who'd survived loss and betrayal, and the particular cruelty of being invisible in your own life. Two women who'd chosen themselves when choosing themselves felt impossible. You know what I realized? I said after a while. For 48 years I thought my worth came from what I gave, how much I sacrificed, how useful I was. I looked around my small garden, my small cottage, my small perfect life. But it doesn't. My worth is just me, existing, taking up space, choosing myself. Amen to that. Virginia raised her teacup. We toasted to survival, to second chances, to women who rebuild their lives from ashes and come out stronger. That night I wrote in my journal, I am 73 years old. I sold the house I built with my husband. I left my son to figure out his own life. I chose myself over family obligation. Some people would call that selfish. I call it survival. I call it reclamation. I call it finally becoming visible in my own story. I'm not someone's mother first anymore. Not someone's burden. Not someone's convenient source of labor or money or sacrifice. I'm Cassandra, just Cassandra, and that's more than enough.